to the table, so that they can form, I think, a partnership between the traditional imperial powers and elites in the rising economies within the third world. I don't think it represents a democratization, quite the reverse. It represents a consolidation of an anti-democratic strategy.
And Sharmin Khan, the fact that they're together, this is rare, right? The G8 and then the G20 all in one place.
Yeah, I believe that the G8 meetings are planning to become, they're still going to meet, but I believe that the G20 meetings are going to become more prominent. The G20 is quite new. We've only met 4 times, but I think this year marks a moment where the 20 countries, or 20 leaders, I should say, will consolidate and try to meet more regularly and be the power broker.
You said that the police came to your workplace to say what?
Well, I was visited, they came to 2 events that we were organizing. They've mostly been wanting to check out the events we've been putting on around the G8 and G20, and then to also ask activists in the room about what our plans were. I should say that they were very polite, but we still refused to speak to them. But that's sort of been they're called community liaisons, and that's been their strategy, is to come to different meetings, talk about a different partnership, but a lot of activists felt that they also want to get a sense of who was in the room and who the organizers were.
Let's talk, John Clark, about the amount of money that is being spent for the summit and what's happening in Toronto. You're as an organization dealing with poverty.
Right. If they're spending $1 billion on security, it happens at a time when already the austerity measures in this province of Ontario are really kicking in a very decisive way. In the last provincial budget, the government here abolished something that's called the special diet. It's an income food supplement program for people on social assistance. It was worth $200 million a year. They've eliminated it. And so just in one act of security build-up, they've spent 5 years worth of special diet money for people whose basic nutrition is not being met. And you could find a myriad of other examples of how this is an offensive and disgusting process.
And talk about the decisions the G8, G20 will be making that affect Canada and, of course, countries all over the world.
Well, I mean, these are the world power brokers. They're going to devise a strategy to restructure the economies of the world in a regressive fashion, under US hegemony, of course. And the point about it is, however, is that this is not just some abstract process, that governments throughout the world are going to be expected to take their lead from the decisions of the G20 meeting, and they're going to be expected to impose these measures of austerity. We've seen what's happened in Greece. We've seen the budget that's just been brought down in Britain, where savage cuts, unprecedented in the last 40 years, are being imposed. I mean, I think we are looking at an incredible period of austerity. Hopefully we're also looking at an incredible period of resistance, though. That needs to be said.
Sharmin Khan, you're the umbrella group of many of the groups that are protesting. Talk about the scope of the people's concerns and the scope of the organizations.
Well, we're made up of organizations, labor unions, and individuals who might not be affiliated with any organization who are mobilizing against the G8 and G20. And we've been organizing around specific themes that we've sort of divided up into themed days. So some of the issues that people are concerned with are Indigenous sovereignty, anti-poverty, gender justice, migrant issues, and an end to war and occupation. So these are many of the issues that we feel the G8 and G20 have a great deal of influence over. It's a very large and diverse network. Hopefully that will keep going after the G8 and G20 meetings are done. It's been a vibrant network. I should say, though, that we're not organizing any of the actions. We've done call-outs for organizations to take on some of the days, do workshops, do rallies. But the network is doing the Convergence Center. We're providing childcare, doing logistics of the actions.
How many people are involved in these protests?
That's hard to say. I mean, as the days go on, yesterday we saw around 2,200 people in the streets. In the network itself, there's probably around 150 to 200 people involved.
John Clark, what are the actions planned?
We're putting most of our resources into an action today. It's going to be a day to struggle for community justice. We're going to gather in a major downtown park. We're going to march through the streets. We haven't choreographed the route with the cops, so we don't know what to expect in terms of how they're going to respond. And the event will culminate this evening in a tent city. We're going to take over an area. We're going to put up tents. It's going to be a place of solidarity for homeless people, and it's going to be a place to express the anger of all those who are being displaced and victimized by the system and by the agenda of the G20. I think it'll be a very powerful event and a very important one. And as was alluded to, the real question is going to be where it goes from here. We're not just protesting a summit. We're protesting a whole series of attacks. We're protesting a whole economic system, and as such, the struggles that flow out of today are of the greatest importance.
Mm-hmm. The issue of war. Yesterday, as we came into Toronto from Detroit, from covering the U.S. Social Forum, I was seeing a news zipper occasionally would mention the name, I think it was James McNeil, of a soldier who was killed in Afghanistan.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the great ironies of preparing this and working with mainstream media, for example, is that the fixation is this going to be peaceful? Is somebody going to break a window? Is somebody going to scuffle with the cops? Which is such a tiny issue relative to the enormous violence of the agenda that's being prepared here. It's not just about imposing austerity on people. They'll use whatever form of military violence is necessary to ensure that that agenda is enforced. And yes, we are confronting